This is Design Futurecast. I'm Lorena Lehman. In this second episode, the design experiment and result that we will investigate is called Ever-Changing Motion. It's a procedural model and can be seen at designfuturecast.com/episode 2. So, ever-changing motion. This is a design investigation that had design intention. When I began to create this model, the first thing I was seeking to do was to create a form that behaves musically as it behaves dynamically. So, like the layering of notes that a musical instrument plays, I was looking for these geometric forms to also hierarchically play with one another in space. So the design method to accomplish all of this was to create a procedural model using the XFrog software. And basically what I did was tapped into a hierarchical approach to design. So you can think of this like you might go about designing a tree that has a trunk, branches, and leaves, and then beginning to move each of those respective of one another. The workflow for creating this design model was to create the components first. Once the components were created, I then began to model the motion, where I'd manipulate form geometries within the model over time. And this resulted in capturing design behavior through recording of different perspective views. So basically, I recorded these different views so that I could really see what was going on in the model. I discovered that recording one view of the model in motion was not enough to see all of the complexity of dynamic behaviors going on within the model. This led to an ultimate design result, where most apparent was that all parts of the model of the design were in constant motion, going in many directions. And this constant motion creates new and unforeseen behaviors. Basically, there were behaviors that I did not foresee and envision when I began creating the model. And this, of course, led to me having many design questions. For instance, as a design becomes more and more dynamic, can you, as the designer, foresee all of the possible design behaviors that will be evoked? I think this is a really important question to be asking, particularly as we move into the future where more designs and more environments will become more interactive and even more adaptive. Another question that surfaced that relates to this is, can architecture be designed to be in constant motion? So you've heard that architecture is like frozen music. But what happens when that music unfreezes? So can design in constant motion bring greater value to those it serves? And this leads us into questioning adaptive design. Because when a design is in constant motion, it's changing. And it will either change for the better or for the worse as it degenerates or regresses. So as a designer, we begin to ask, how can we create design that improves over time, so that it adapts and significantly and dramatically improves to help its users or occupants that engage with it? Another important and critical question is also, what methods would one use to dissect dynamic, ever-changing behaviors of a design? I came up with 3 methods for dissection, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But the first is pattern. We can begin to look at patterns of behavior of a design over time to really understand, again, hierarchically, what patterns engage us most, what patterns really create the most impact for the better and for the worse, so that we can increase what is significantly working and we can increase the strengths and decrease weaknesses of a design. The second method is personality. What is the personality of the design language? Because over time, the patterns add up. As a design engages with someone, behavior unfolds and a personality emits. And I think that as the designer, you are creating somewhat of a DNA within the design that will inherently set off its personality in a particular direction. Now, that direction and the personality can change if a design is adaptive and it's engaging with users or occupants. But in a sense, the designer sets that initial spark, this seed of its personality. Another method is also learning. So learning for design improvement in real time. So we might delve into questions about how a design can learn so that it can improve over time, so that each interaction it has with an occupant or user really helps it and informs it to make better decisions for its patterns and ultimate personality and design character. So this leads us now to the design conclusion of this experiment of ever-changing motion. You might ask, what is the impact of all of this? Well, as you expand your design thinking to make smarter design decisions, you'll want to think about new ways for behavioral patterns, design language personality, and design learning to help you foresee and envision the future benefits of your design. And doing this successfully means that environmental designs would have less sensory conflicts, side effects, and detrimental behaviors impacting occupants. This is all really critical to think about as you engage and embark into the future of interactive and adaptive designs as they are proliferating into tomorrow. Now, in terms of 21st century applications, we can begin to see everywhere technologies being networked with one another. And it's important that these design dynamic behaviors not conflict with surrounding environments, which would also be networked as well. So the question is, as designers of these technologies and environments are being spun into existence with all of these dynamic behaviors, how can we do our best job at foreseeing how these behaviors will unfold from those three methods of pattern, personality, and learning? Also, behavior in design is becoming more and more critical. So dissecting how to create it and hone it through design is becoming even more paramount. It's important as designers to really delve into what you are creating, not only once it's built, but also in terms of its lifespan over time. How will its behavior change as we delve from the static to the interactive and now into the adaptive in the future? If you would like to delve deeper into discovering even more great insights to improve your own creative vision and design decision making, then visit marialorenalehman.com. Discover leading edge books, courses, and more designs to help you grow your own creative genius. All of this and more awaits you at marialorenalehman.com.